I'm going to be using yellow, peach, light green, and using green, orange, warm gray, black. We'll be using some sea green at the very end, and then light blue. I'm going to start with yellow. So I'm going to be lightly coloring in this duck. And I'm going to be avoiding some areas because I want it to be a little lighter than others. So if you're looking at this, I want the backs to be lighter and the top of the head to be a little lighter than the rest of the duck. So I'm going to be adding yellow here, and I'm not going to be touching the top of the back. As well as with the head, I'm not going to be touching the top of the head. So same thing with all of this. There. Now I'm going to go in with peach, this peach color. So I'm just going to be coloring underneath that wing. I'm just going to be putting it in some of the shaded areas. So, okay, so the belly of the bird, like the breast of the bird, is going to be peach under the wing. Now I'm going to use orange for the beak. I'm just going to color lightly. You don't have to like color the entire beak like I did there, but the benefit of not coloring the entire beak is that you have, you can kind of move the pigment around and it's not like super dark. Kind of has that like watercolory type of feel to it. Okay, now I'm going to do the mother's beak. Now let's use pink. Grab your pink pencil and do just like a little blush on her cheek. Just a little circle right there. And then I'm going to also add some blush on the babies as well. Let's use the warm gray underneath the wing of the mother. And under her belly. I'm going to take the green, the light green. Then I'm going to go with the reeds, and I'm just going to lightly color with green, light green, sorry, light green. There's a difference. So I'm going to use green as the darker color to the reeds, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of these reeds. Just going to add some like shadow there. Okay, now I've got the shaded parts of the for the reeds. I'm going to add a little bit of black to the underside of the mother duck. Just a tinge bit, like not a lot because I don't want it to like be overwhelming. Just in a few different areas. All right, now I'm going to add this light blue. And this is all general pencil, watercolor pencils. I'm going to add this light blue to the water. And you don't need to be like super perfect about this. So you just apply it, and then afterwards we're going to go on with water and spread it all around. You know what color I forgot that I had used? It was blue. So I actually went in with like a light blue at the top here, and then I like added some darker, like just a blue at the very bottom. So we'll do that. One thing that is really interesting that I learned in some of my art classes when I was taking them in college is that when it comes to atmospheric colors, the closer the item is to you, the more saturated those colors will be. So you just want to make the colors that are closest to you more vibrant than the ones that are further away. And that will make it look more real. And then I'm going to add some sea green. This sea green, guys, is like so beautiful. I love this color. I'm going to add some sea green to the bottom of the mother duck and the little ducks around. And just add it here and there. Some different spots to add some sea green. And then I'll add some sea green up here by the reeds. Oh, there you go. You can see it now. Definitely using this color more often in the future. All right, now I'm going to add water. Now that we've added all of the colors. Actually, I'm missing one color, and that's black. I was gonna put it on this eye right here, the mother's eye. Okay, now let's start with this little duckling right here at the bottom. I'm going to start at the top of the head, which is basic. There's no pigment there. And I'm going to work my way down towards the darker pigments. And that's how you want to, that's basically a rule of thumb when it comes to watercolor pencil painting. I'm going to go with little circles in here and just spread that around. I'm going to move towards that pink, get all that yellow that I want to be there. And then I'm going to go over that pink part right there. And then I'm going to touch it right there and then pull up right at that pink part. This is where it kind of gets tricky, but when you're, got several different like dark spots in there, I've got the peach right here and the peach right there. So I'm going to go down from this white spot. I'm going to move myself down, and then I'm just going to brush up on that wing. Keep on moving down, and then I'm just going to get all of those yellow parts, and I'm going to move towards those darker spots. And then I'm going to pull up at the darkest spot that I want, which is underneath that bill. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to move towards those darker spots and then pull up where I want that dark spot to be. And there you have it. You have shaded areas on your duck. I'm going to do the same thing with the bill. I would have wanted the white spot to be at the top, so I'm going to move towards the bottom there. And then just kind of move it around a little bit. There. move towards those darker spots and then pull up. In those spots where it's dark, or when you pull up your brush, it's gonna leave the most pigment. So that's why I say pull up in the darkest, where you want that darkest spot to be. Pull up. And I'm gonna be adding some water right here. There we go. I'm gonna get all the lighter color in there. And I'm gonna move towards those darker spots. Right. So wherever you want a highlight, you want to just leave it white. Leave it white, so then the pigment doesn't, like, because the pigment will go there, especially if you add water to it. Like for example, with this beak up here, I've left all of this white up here, so I'm going to add water up here to the top of the beak up here, and then I'm going to move towards the darker spots, and you'll see like it just kind of moves up. And then there you go. I think I just want a tiny bit more pigment up there. There you go. And the way I think of it when it comes to like adding any pigment, when I'm adding water to the pigment, I think of it as like a bulldozer in a way, that like I'm a bulldozer moving that pigment around. I'm gonna do the blush on the cheek and basically just do a circle with my brush. There you go. And then I'm just gonna add a tiny bit to the eye. There. I'm gonna move on to the reeds up here. And if you can see, I didn't really wash my brush out before I did this, but if I don't wash out my brush, it'll bring over some of that green over to the top of there. So I have to make sure to wash out my brush a little bit before I go on to the ones that I want to be light at the top. Okay, now I'm gonna actually get a larger brush. I didn't really talk about the brushes yet. So this is a size 8 round, and I'm gonna use that for the water because it's a larger area and I just need more water. Because I don't want it to like dry up super fast. Okay, so I'm going to Start with those light areas. Just kind of move around a little bit. I pull up right here next to the mother duck, so then that pigment is the most dark over there. Move down here like this. Like I said before, I really want that darker area to be up here next to the ducks, because that's where the shadow is going to be. So I'm going to move that pigment up towards the ducks. Just look how fun that color is. I just love the color of it. I'm gonna add more water there. And move down. There. And it just has like a really sweet, like soft watercolor look to this, which I just love. That's totally my style. I just love like the watercolor application. I'm gonna pull that pigment towards the duck. I pull up right there. And I'm gonna move up towards the reeds because the water is gonna be darker around these reeds because of the shadow. Push that up towards the top. There we go. And you don't have to be like super like perfect about this. Just try to get that pigment around and then pull up where you want the darkest pigments to be. And that's the water. Now I am finished with that part. I'm going to start lining now. I'm going to use my black pencil first. And with lining, you have to make sure it's like super sharp, like really, really sharp. That way you can have control with your pencil as you are lining. So just to show what it's going to look like again, this is what we're trying to achieve. Okay. And I'm going to start with this little duck right down here because that's where I first started, and it's probably going to be the most dry. So I'm going to start with just doing a little eyeball on this cute little guy. And then after doing a little eye, I'm going to do a little line towards the beak. Just a tiny little line right there. I'm going to do that with all of them. And then I'm going to do the mother's eye. I'm just going to outline her eye because I did add black to her eye. So I'm going to outline her eye like that. I think I'm going to do the black pencil still, and I'm going to just outline her. So when I'm outlining, I want to make sure that I'm not adding like a really dark line. I want it to be delicate and soft and just follow along those lines that I had created before. And I also want to skip a little bit too, because then it will look not so dark. All right, so I'm gonna do that with this. So just skip along the least amount of like dark color. And then I'm gonna move along the back. And the same kind of thing, just skip along. Just like that. And then along her wing. Okay. And her little body. And then I'm gonna do along her bill as well. Let's use the peach on outlining the little ducks. The yellow is a little too light. It doesn't really stand out. Isn't really a good lining color. Just like in general, because it's hard to see from like a distance. So I'm gonna use peach and I'm gonna outline the little ducks. And the same concept, it might be a little bit darker. You might want to achieve a little bit darker than the mother duck. As in like not skipping. That's what I mean by that. So I'm gonna outline this little duck right here. Now I'm going to take the orange, and the orange, I'm going to outline this as well, but I'm going to do it on the darker, like more shaded parts of the duck. So on the bottom of the duck, you're going to add some orange, just like that. I don't know if you can see that, but just in the portions that it's like a little bit darker. You want it to like have more contrast, like on the bottom of the head, right there, and the bottom of the duck as well. Okay, now I'm gonna outline the beak with the orange as well. And there you go. How cute. Okay, now let's do the mother's bill. And there you have it. I think I'm gonna also do the wings too. Just a tad bit. Let's add some more contrast there. And then outline the little blush right there. Okay, now let's move on to green. And green we will use for the reeds. And we want the reeds, so the goal with the reeds is to make them blend into the background a little bit, but we also want them to, you know, to be able to see the difference between each of the reeds. So I'm going to use some like at the very bottom, and then I'm going to pull it up a little bit, but I'm not going to go all the way. Okay, see that? And this is green that I'm using. I'm going to pull it just a tad bit, just so then you can see there's separation there. Just like that. And I think I'm going to go over like the top, the parts at the top with the light green. But I want the bottom of the reeds to have a little bit more shading. Okay, and I'm going to use light green, and I'm going to just pull it up just a little bit more, that separation from the reeds. All right, now I'm going to just add a little bit of shading with the sea green. And just to kind of make it a little bit darker up here. So I'm going to use this pencil to just add some more shading here and pull that shading down because it'll make it look like it's in water. So just pull it down a little bit, like little vertical splashes of color. And this one you want it to pull down a little bit more because it's like a closer to you. It will look like your birds are actually sitting on water when you do this part because it looks more realistic. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the birds too. So I'm going to add a little bit of pigment down here at the bottom, and just gonna pull that out. I'm just gonna make it look like they're, you know, really sitting on water. I'm going to do a little bit darker in this area because it's very shaded. Okay, add some more. Maybe some more dark right here for the head. Okay, and then I'm going to add, I don't know if you've noticed this, but with this one, there's a little tinge bit of yellow as a reflection from the little ducks. So I'm going to add yellow in there too. Just a little bit, not a ton. Make it look like it's their color is reflecting off the water. And one last thing, I wanted to add a little black to her little nostril right there. And then I guess the last thing, I'm gonna add a little bit of shading with the warm gray around her eye. I'm gonna erase a tad bit. And there you go. Thank you for joining today, and hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.